Hi everyone, welcome to another sketchbook tour. Grab yourself a hot drink or a cold drink, whatever you like. I've got a cup of tea. Grab a coffee, iced coffee, juice, water, and let's get going. Let's get straight into it. In the cover I just have two stickers, although this would not stick down. I have this sticker that says "Give the Joy Back." It's actually from an artist's book that I was gifted ages ago, and it had these phrases and stickers inside. If I can find it, I'll link it in the description. And this kept peeling off, so I had to stick it down with some electrical tape. And I guess this was kind of my mantra for this sketchbook, but also this phase of my life. Let's just check quickly. It was completed between February 11th, 2023 to October 7th, 2023. So it's been a while since I completed it, and I just haven't got around to filming this. So yeah, and then we have a sunflower because those are my favourite flowers. So let's get into it. Do I need to cover up my address? Yes. Okay, so I'm just gonna do that. So I have a "If lost, please return to," and I just drew my regular vines that I normally draw, and I decided to use the cover page just to test out these new markers that I had received for my birthday, because February 11th 2023 obviously was my birthday last year, and they were alcohol markers. I've never had alcohol markers before, so I was just testing them out. And I also received these washi tapes for my birthday, and I think these two normal pens. So I was just trying to not be precious by doing that. I wasn't very well on my birthday last year, and I'm not very well right now. You might hear it in my voice. Luckily this year on my birthday I was actually completely fine, and 5 days afterwards I got sick, and I've been sick for 2 weeks. So there you go. Anyway, that's not why I'm here. Last year on my birthday I was actually unwell, so all we could do was drive in the car, and then I would sit inside the car and draw. So there is a woodland that I love called Great Wood in the UK, in England, and we drove to Great Wood, and I sat in the car and I drew this tree that I could see, and it was very hard. I remember thinking, oh my god, it's winter, there's so many branches, I don't know how to pick out which branches to draw, and like how to really see every branch and how they're connected. So I was trying to be unprecious in the way I do it. I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway, here I'm practicing to be loose. Okay, then it's the 5th of February 2023, and by this point I was much better. Oh no, this is before I got sick. Yeah, so I've done it in the wrong order. That's fine. So the 5th of February 2023, I was actually not sick yet, and we were on the train. So this is actually the train, the inside of a train, and I didn't have long before the train filled up, and people actually sat directly across us, and they covered the seats. So obviously I couldn't draw any more details of the seats. And the people also sat in these seats, so I couldn't draw any more of like what I could see initially. But that's okay. So this is as far as I got, and I do like it. Again, I was trying to be loose. I was very scared of drawing outside, and of people like asking me what I'm drawing or asking to see it, and I kind of don't do it because I'm like, oh, I don't want to have that interaction, but also I'm scared of like people seeing my work, and I'm like, oh, I just don't care, I just want to do it. So here I am trying to do it, and I've succeeded because I did do it. So it's very simple line drawing. I think I got this Tombow marker new, and then the people sat on the train opposite me, so I was talking to them because they had a brand new puppy, and the puppy was trying to get over to me and stuff, which was great. I love puppies and dogs and cats. So I was like, okay, I've got to draw something else because I can't like look at them, it's weird. So then I started drawing flowers basically while I was sat talking to them. And then here I decided to change the orientation apparently. So I went to Hastings and St Leonards-on-Sea, and then I was going to draw this ice cream cone. Basically, this is from a photo. I sat down in a cafe after we had ice cream on the beach in Hastings, and I decided to draw loose. That's how I started in my mind, and then it just became really tight, and I drew every single pebble, and I don't really know why I did that, but anyway, there you go. I still like it. Okay. Oh, I struggled with this so much. Okay, I think I found a reference photo on Google or something, and so something about me is I live in the city, and I almost moved to like the seaside, but in the end I didn't. However, half of me lives in the countryside. Like, that's just how I am. So I feel very drawn to the countryside and go on a lot of walks in nature and stuff, even though I live in the city. So I guess that's what I draw. I feel attracted to drawing. So I picked this picture, a random photo from Google, and I was trying to be loose, but I would say it's not loose, evidently. But do you know what I mean? Like, I don't actually know how to be loose yet, so I'm just doing this. And I've never drawn sheep before, or obviously this scenery before, or anything, so I was just trying to learn it all. I remember hating it. Like, this is Posca, and it was ripping up the paper as it does. Then I was using pencil to try and get the like effect of the sheep's wool, and I also like that you can see through to the layers underneath. Yeah, I now do like it, but at the time I hated it, but now I think it's fine. Okay, so here, oh wow, that's July. Okay, did I write a date for here? Okay, so for some reason February to July we have skipped. So like this sheep drawing is from, okay, this is just done in the wrong order. Okay, that's fine. But this is July. I think I bought this pen, and I was really into it. It's just a normal like writing pen, and I just drew the flowers, and they're flowing really nice and becoming these like chunky flowers that the pen allowed me to do, and it was like flowing from one to the other, and it was really fun. And I left them, they were empty, and I think later on, months or weeks later, I came back and I picked these colours that go together and coloured them in with Prismacolor pencils, and I really like it. I like the colours that I picked. Yeah, it's just all very appealing. Here I obviously picked a cool toned colour palette and did my flowers again, but these were much more controlled and less free. So during the process of this sketchbook, I was just trying to make art without expectations, because as soon as I put some kind of pressure or expectation, that book is not being opened in 6 months to a year. So that's how this came about. So basically underneath this, I was like, look, I just need to like not think of something and just feel the pencil on the paper. I was using my Posca markers, and I love bright colours, so I was using all the bright colours, and that was like inspiring and fun, and just the act of doing that can kind of get you unstuck. So I would spend time in the evening after I have a full-time job, I work, I have a whole life. So this stuff gets done with my last few brain cells in the evenings. And so I was like, okay, I spent a night or two probably colouring this double page spread, and then another night I was like, oh, what would happen if I did this kind of drawing where you I can't remember the name of it, so I've not seen anyone else do them. I know I haven't invented it, but it was just something that popped into my head without any reference and without having seen it. I obviously must have seen it once in my life to know to do it, Do you know what I mean? But this is what, the reason I'm telling you this is because this is what kind of being a bit more free and relieving pressure does. It allows ideas to come, to flow to the top, and to stay, and for you not to kill them. So this isn't like, oh my god, a revelation. However, I enjoyed doing it, and I think that's fantastic. I enjoyed colouring the underneath with no pressure, and then I enjoyed having an idea of doing this negative space drawing, and I didn't draw it out first, which is why they all look janky and weird. But that's okay. It's supposed to be like a starry night Mediterranean country, because this is originally was meant to be an orange tree or a citrus tree. And then yeah, like these are meant to be citrus, but again, because I didn't draw it out, it's the way it will be. And then this was a cat, and it's supposed to be like a Mediterranean country, and you're dining at night under the stars, and it's a date, and I just thought it was cute. Okay, so here we are in April. So the other picture was July. That's probably because I just skipped around. It's not in chronological order. This I used a reference, and I decided to pick different mediums. So these two are Tombow markers, this green and blue. And then I added the addition of a blue pencil. I'm guessing it's a Posca pencil. And I picked a photo, again, don't remember where it's from, but probably just Googled something, and it was like, I just thought of the idea of a gardening theme, and so I used a bird's eye perspective photograph as my reference, and wanted to see if I could make it so that it was viable, so that you could tell what it is. Does that make sense with those three materials? So here is like a pot, and these are supposed to be gardening gloves and a spade and another gardening tool there inside a pot, and that's a watering can, the mouth of the watering can just poking out there, and this is like a planter pot with short greens in, and then there were all these other pots that with lots of different types of foliage and flowers, and obviously it was getting kind of wide angled in the corner, so I was trying to create that with the pot shape there. So yeah, that was, I liked it. I really enjoyed doing this. I was very much in the moment and kind of in the flow state, and it was one of those drawings that I started and finished in one sitting, and I still enjoy it. These are my two favourite colours. So okay, so everyone has a comfort drawing, and my comfort drawing are flowers. I've been drawing them since I was about 6 years old, and you will see them again and again. Like I said, I do most of my art with my last two brain cells at the end of the day, and I've been trying to tell myself it's better to do something than do nothing at all, because doing nothing progresses nowhere, whereas doing even the same thing again, at least you're doing something, right? So here I am with my flowers again, but this time I just kept it as a pen drawing, and I added the details with the kind of vine, like the vein detail of the leaves, and then I added words, so opening, breathing, flowing, blooming, resting, living, loving, existing, blossoming. I guess it's what was going through my head at the time, and yeah, cute, I like it. Then I was experimenting with the alcohol markers. Now I love these alcohol markers, but I do not love the bleed through, and that's my barrier really. I didn't realise that they had a really bad bleed through, so because of the bleed through I decided to just take another Tombow marker, a black one, and draw these types of flowers, just because I feel like it's a waste not to do something with the bleed through pages. But I did really enjoy the experience of using the alcohol markers, and like it just looks like watercolor, or I don't know, the finish of them is just so beautiful. They're actually beautiful, but I just hate the bleed through, so I'm trying to figure out what to do with them. But yeah, they're stunning. Okay, so here you go. This is more about what I was talking about, trying to practice art without judgment and fear. So allowing the mind to rest on the page. So I did some, I guess, script writing or calligraphy with a Tombow Fudineschi pen. It's like the hard tip pens that you can bend, so they're not completely hard, but they're not completely soft. Anyway, then I used obviously a gold pen to do the shadow. I would say this is all very controlled and not actually being free, if that makes sense, but I guess it's like I was used to doing this kind of script writing, so that might be a restful thing for me. And then I used Posco markers to create these heart folk, and I like, basically I've been drawing hearts all the time, and then I like to add faces to them, and I call them heart folks. And here I try to make really rough heart folk because I make them look more neat and perfected. And Posco markers tend to leak, and it really drives me crazy. If you haven't used a Posca marker in a while, like I forget and I get rusty and I forget that they suddenly will just erupt and just like leak all this colour everywhere, and it's super annoying. So I decided to give this guy like a face, like, oh no, kind of thing. Anyway, I don't know if that makes sense, but when I was younger, I used to use a lot of writing in my art or in my spreads, and I just kind of was told, or along the way I was told, like, that's not really art, but it is. I guess it's more graphic art or illustration. I don't really know. I don't really care what it's called. Yeah, I think it's sad that I don't involve the words in my work anymore, even though I naturally used to. So that's kind of something I wanted to start doing again. So here I'm like trying to come up with different font ideas basically. And yeah, I remember hating this at the time. I also had a very sprained ankle during this time when I was doing this spread, and maybe this spread as well actually. I had a 2nd degree tear on my right ankle from going on a country walk, and it was really sunny and it was summer actually, but I forget that there's morning dew on the grass, and it was a walk that I hadn't done before, and I didn't know that there were rabbit holes everywhere. So I was talking and my foot just went down a rabbit hole, and it kept going and it kept going, and there was nothing to hold on to, and it tore 2 of the ligaments in my feet, on my right foot. Anyway, I'm fine now, it's completely healed, but I went to physio, so make sure you go to physio. Anyway, I remember doing that at this time. I was like so frustrated. I couldn't go on walks. It was summer and I was like, oh god, I hate sitting down. And so when I'm sick, that's when I start doing art more. Okay, so it's the same thing here. My ankle is sprained. I was staying at my mother-in-law's house in the country, and I was infuriated that my ankle is sprained and I'm stationary when I like to go on a lot of walks. So anyway, I sat in the garden and I used Posca markers and highlighters for some reason. And I remember feeling stuck because I was only using Posca markers, and there's only certain colours that I owned of them. So these aren't the true colours of what was there. It was kind of like what I just had. And I remember hating this, and I was like scribbling. I was like trying to be loose. I was like, be loose, but it's still quite tight. And I remember thinking, I'm so glad I drew those flowers, because a day or 2 later they had already started wilting and falling off. And that's the thing about nature and life, it will pass you by. So if I had been even more of a perfectionist, I would have not even got this down, you know, because we sit out here and it's quite nice to sit out there, and that's kind of what I remember when I look at this, even though I remember also hating it when I made it. Okay, then we have the blobs. So if you haven't heard of this, it's something that artists do when they can't think of anything to paint or draw. And it's basically you just put down a bunch of blobs on a paper, and then you try to fill the blob. You try to make it look like something, or you just fill the blob, and then that way it's easier to fill a whole 2-page spread without having to think, oh, staring at an empty double spread thinking, what am I going to draw? Do you know what I mean? I remember not liking this because previously when I've done my blobs, they're in colours that I love. Like, you might have noticed that I enjoy bright colour, full saturation kind of summer spring palette. I don't really like dark colours, but now I actually like this spread. I don't know if you can see all the details, but like, this one is a plant. It's a plant, I think it's actually a cheese plant, and I remember like getting so annoyed. So I have ADHD, and that affects the way I do art. I don't have a lot of patience, so I remember thinking like, oh, why did you pick this reference photo with all these leaves and this finicky plant? And then once I was done, I really liked it. However, I remember getting not upset, but like being a bit frustrated that there's not much contrast between the black line work and the purple, and again being annoyed at the darker colour. And I was thinking, oh, I need to do that again. But did I do it again? No, because I don't have patience. But anyway, while I was doing it, I was in flow state and I did enjoy it, even though I'm clearly explaining that I was also frustrated. This bean, for some reason, reminded me of a fetus, so I drew a fetus. And then I have some ice, like it's meant to be like in a cave, like the icicles you get in a cave. And then I have a cartoony kind of dog face, a sun, which I actually really enjoy, using the black and the white. It's very like, I don't know, there's life to it. And then I have this tooth drawing. I actually looked up a reference photo of a tooth because I think I looked at this blob and I was like, oh, that reminds me of a tooth. And then this is why it's so great to do random stuff like this, because then I realised that I really like medical drawings, and I was like, oh, that should be something I continue to explore. Have I done that? No. I need to though. The reason why I haven't done it is because I kind of archive my sketchbooks and put them away. I actually need to get them out more regularly to feel inspired by my own work. But anyway, thoroughly enjoyed doing that. I think I drew that not from a reference, and then I was like, maybe I should look at a reference, but it's mainly from my head. Then I did a pumpkin not from reference. I think you can tell which ones that I referenced and not referenced. Most of them are not from a reference because I just wanted to be free, like I said. This, I don't know why, just became chest of drawers to me, but cartoony type that isn't very even. And then it has this, I can't remember the name of this pattern. It's going to annoy me. I really love this pattern. Okay, I can't remember it. Chevron? No, I don't know. I'll put it on the screen if I can figure it out by the time I'm editing, but love this kind of pattern. Then I was like, oh, what if it's kind of this enamel, fake enamel? And then I did a staircase because for some reason the shape of this corner reminded me of a staircase. And then I did it in like a checkerboard style. So there you go. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but I thoroughly enjoyed doing this, and even talking about it is bringing back some of the joy, so that's quite good to remember. This is like, oh, so this was an empty page that I came back to do, so I'll come back to that drawing in a minute because you need to see some other pages for that to make sense. So here I am drawing some vines with leaves because this is also part of my comfort drawing, right? When I don't have a lot of time and can't really focus, I just do these from my mind and I like it. It's pretty. Here I decided to do something a bit different. I decided to use a biro, and after I did the biro, I think I did the red first. I used a red Posca marker first, and then I decided to add detail with the biro. And I remember like trying to be more loose and less controlled than usual. that's why the lines are like outside. And then I remember hating it, not because of the biro or the actual flowers, but because I wrote the date, and there's something about the way I wrote the date that I hated. Anyway, I think it's fine. Yeah, the date is a bit jarring, I think, but I like the flowers. Okay, these pages, I feel like I started to grow in like experimenting and truly unlocking what it means to be loose. I think I did this one first. There's something stuck. Oh no, that's just the face. So I had a photo of Scotland. I think it's Edinburgh or Glasgow, I can't remember, but there's this church. If I can find the photo, I'll put it on the screen. But yeah, I decided to use my own photos because sometimes I feel better using my own photos as reference. Obviously you don't always have a photo of what you want to reference, but yeah. And then I used Posca markers. I remember doing this in bed. Most of this sketchbook has been made from bed. That's just like where I feel at peace in the evenings, so that's what I do. Obviously it's not great when you're using paint markers that go everywhere, but I make it work. So yeah, I remember putting down Posca marker, and then like I would smudge it with my hands until it would smudge no more. And then, so this is Posca marker, this is Posca marker, and then I got Prismacolor pencils, and I basically just drew the other stuff. So the sky is actually painted in with a white Posca marker that I smudged around. That's why it's a bit dirty. And then this is like a black or grey Posca marker, and I think I added like splashes of white, and then I would mix it with my fingertips. And I really loved finger painting. It was so fun and like so freeing, and I just liked how quick I had to work. I don't know if that makes sense. And then in the photo there were these tombstones and these gardeners or landscapers that were taking care of the cemetery grounds, and there were trees. I like how loose this is loose, and I like that. So I did that before I did this, I'm pretty sure, from memory. And then I think oh no, apparently not. Apparently I did this. So this one doesn't have a date, so I don't know when I did that one. So this says I did this July 1st. So I got a reference photo of meerkats. Now, I think I did this from my own photo because we went to see some meerkats in a little zoo in the summer, and I took lots of pictures, and I think that's what this is. If not, I might have looked at my own photos and then tried to find a reference based on a photo like that I had. Does that make sense? Like a similar pose? I don't know. Anyway, I don't exactly remember what picture I used, but I know the only reason I'm thinking it's probably a picture I took is because they had new babies when I went to that zoo, and I don't know. Anyway, that's a tangent. Again, using Posca marker to make, first I made these two, and I was scribbling, so I wasn't actually smudging too much with my hand. I can see scribbles there. This bit I probably smudged with my hand. And then, as you can see, it leaked out, which they do. And then I kind of just made it part of the drawing. And I then added the details with a green Posca marker, which I enjoy. And then I just smudged around this pink Posca, and I just absolutely loved it. Like, straight off the bat, I was like, yes, this is art. I don't know why, it just felt like I was growing, and I enjoyed the process and the result. So yeah, then I did this the very next day. So I must have done these two on the same day, because I remember I did that, and I remember thinking that's not abstract enough, like it's not free enough. So then I did this. I challenged myself to do this, and I think I don't know what I would have googled to get a photo like this, but basically it's two people that were litter picking, and this is a coffee shop in the UK and possibly around Europe, and these people were wearing these high-vis, and kind of litter picking in a park, basically. And I remember feeling frustrated because, again, I'm only restricted to the colours that I owned in the Posca markers, and they're not really like colours I would necessarily choose, or they come in a pack, they were gifts. But also they're not obviously the colours. I don't know if that makes sense. I was just feeling restricted by that. And I didn't really, so the reason why I'm mentioning it is because I remember hating it because of that. But actually, it's fine. Like, I got the result that I wanted, which is to be loose and free. So this one I was like going AWOL. I was going crazy with it. I was just like, put it down, smudge, put it down. And I was like, can you make out a figure? Can you make out that this person's turned around with their hood up? This person's looking at the camera. They have a stick to pick up the litter with, and this is then bag that they are going to put the litter inside, and this is a park path, and this is a park bench, and you know, here are the trees. It's winter time, so the trees don't have any leaves, and here's the earth and the muddy ground and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it is more abstracted and it's more impressions of stuff rather than being rendered as it is, if that makes sense. But it does work. Then I was feeling very inspired. Oh yeah. Then later in the same day I did this one, which is a little tiger, and I tried to be more abstract than the meerkat, so I was just like doing all of this with my hand as the paint was going down, and I was trying to blur it out. And then I was using the blue, and I picked orange and blue because they're contrasting colours, or they go together. And then I wanted the background to let him sing, so I used a paler colour that isn't as bright, and this is when the Posca marker was running out, so that's why I scribbled it, because there was no more lots of paint to get out to smudge about. But that was my initial plan, to smudge it, and then because it was running out I just did the scribbly effect instead. And then the next day, I remember doing these before going to work. I'd wake up and I'd sip coffee in bed, and before I'd get up to get ready and do my day, I'd just be thinking about it, and then I'd get it all out and do this quickly. I did this quickly before work, and then I'd go to work. But I remember when I did this, I was like, oh no, like, you took a break. I didn't take a break because it was literally the next day, but for some reason I was thinking, oh no, like, you've become more controlled, like this was a lot more abstracted, and so was this, and so were the meerkats, and like this is a lot more controlled, right? And I was like, oh, is it because I use too many colours? Because the others are minimal, like this is minimal colour palette, and so is that one. And yeah, I was just kind of going, oh no, but actually I really like it now. I do get what I think I remember why. I remember why I did this with my left hand, and I did the meerkats with my left hand, and that's why they came out so cool. And I did this with my right hand, and that's why it came out a bit more controlled. But I would say I'm still learning, like it's still loose, even though it's more controlled. I still think this is a pleasing parrot, but I was being hard on myself, and that's why I went back to that empty page that we saw ages ago, if I can find it. I wonder where it is. Here we go. And I went back to this and tried it again, and I think I did use my left hand, and I used less colours, and I view it as less successful, maybe. I don't really know, you tell me, but it's harder to, like, I think the looseness is nice, but it's harder to make out the parrot, like the details of the parrot. So maybe a combination of both would be good. They're both their own thing, so that's why that's there. Yeah, but I think this and these, they're just my favourite, you know. Okay, then we have this, And this is when I was like, oh, I'm trying to learn new things. Like, being loose is not something that comes naturally to me. And I just wanted to like feel calm and like that I don't have to push every day. So I had taken a break. So this is the 12th of July. And this is what happens to me when I make art that I think is good. I suddenly feel scared that I can't do it again, and I just like abandon, basically. So it's been over a week, you know, it's been 10 days, 9 days. So I must have been thinking, oh no, like the more I put it off, the more pressure I'm going to feel. So I decided to just draw anything that came into my head without reference. And I remember I stuck to, I think this was a biro or some kind of writing pen. Oh, it's not a biro, but it's just some kind of pen that you know, for writing, not necessarily drawing. And I picked 3 colour pencils, and I think it was this colour, this blue, and this yellow, and that was it. And that was kind of how it was going to come together. And for some reason I drew all these random things that just popped into my head, and I really enjoy it. I just think it's nice, it's quirky, it's like a insight into my very strange brain, where things are very wonderful and fantastical and cute, but also very odd. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, a plum bob. That is a plum bob. Oh yes. Okay, so like I said, I'm working. I'm self-employed. I'm a photographer and a photography educator, and I do business consultancy and I write articles and stuff. So I do all of that for myself, and it is quite stressful. It is enjoyable, but quite stressful, because you are your own boss, and you have a lot of bosses because you have a lot of clients. And so it is great, and also there's the, like with every job, stressful, it's stressy, and I can easily just be like, I'm too stressed, and that's what I was doing a lot. And through the sketchbook, I was trying to teach myself, even if you're stressed, you are allowed to make art, and it's allowed to not be good, but you are allowed to put pen to paper or pencil to paper and just use that as a therapeutic release, or, you know, just for enjoyment. It doesn't have to be shared. Obviously I'm sharing it with you. Anyway, I remember coming home from work, having a very stressful day, being completely exhausted, having like 2 brain cells. And then I was eating my dinner and I was watching YouTube, and I was watching this creator called Hannah Witten, who's also a UK creator. And I remember thinking, oh, I really like the yellow that she's wearing. Now, I don't draw people, so like, I don't want you to come for me and say like, oh, you've made her look awful, because I haven't drawn a person since I was like 4. I don't draw people. The last time I drew people all the time, I was 14, and I'm now 34. So I thought this was pretty good for someone who hasn't really drawn people in 20 years. Yes, she looks a bit scary, I get it, but actually I think it is a kind of good depiction of how she looked in that video. And it says, Hannah Witten on Thursday, the 13th of July, 2023 at 5:20 p.m. at home. There you go. Oh my god, I absolutely loved this parrot. I remember it. It's not a parrot. I can't remember what kind of bird it is. Oh my god. Okay, this might be one of my favorite spreads. I think this is my favorite spread in the whole sketchbook. So this guy is actually my friend's cousin's bird, and I can't remember her name. I think it's a girl. Oh, or it might be a boy. Oh yeah, I remember what it's called. It's called Pikachu because of the cheeks and the colours. And it's not a parrot. I can't remember what kind of bird it is, unfortunately. But I took lots of photos of it, and I had recently visited it a couple of times. It's a Thursday. That means I saw it on that day. Thursdays are the days I go to this friend's house, and I would take photos of it, and it would talk, and it had a lot of character, and it would just have a lot of attitude, and like, it just had a big personality. So I came home and I was like, I think I'm going to draw this parrot. It's so beautiful. It was just such a beautiful I keep calling it a parrot. It's not a parrot. It's a bird. I don't know what kind of bird it is. I'm going to draw Pikachu. And I remember thinking, like, look at Pikachu just sitting on one foot, you know, because that's what birds do when they're relaxing, I guess. And this was just a photo I took on my iPhone of the bird through the cage. That it was in the caged hours. Obviously, it's let out, but this time it was in the cage, so it was like sitting still on this little stick in the cage, and I just quickly painted it and, like, you know, smushed the paint about to get an impression of the bird Pikachu, and then I did a complementary colour around, and I added the details with more paint, and then I did this more specifically, I guess, the beak and the eyes and the cheek, and then I just did some pencil to add like feathers and the little detail on the feet. Oh no, that's not pencil, that's just the Posca marker. But yeah, I had a lot of fun doing that, and I think it does capture Pikachu, which I enjoyed a lot because it was an animal that I actually got to know a little bit. And then here, I remember I got this paint for my birthday. It's called Cadmium Orange, I believe, and I think it's a Winsor & Newton. I can't remember what brand, but anyway, it's a cadmium orange gouache, and it was new to me, and I was like, oh, I need to make something with this. And you know, when you get an art supply, I'm just like, oh, it's too nice to use. Oh, there's all this pressure to use it. Oh, I don't know how to use it. And then I was just like, oh, you just need to do it, because it was July and I had got it for my birthday in February, and this is the first time I'm using it, one of the first times. I was just like, no, you need to get it together and use it. So I just pulled up a picture, I think it was on Pinterest, of flowers, and I like the perspective of, like, even though they're obviously tiny flowers in a field, you're just looking up at them, that hero perspective, hero angle, and I just picked, you know, my favourite colours to go with it in the background and the stems, and I just really love it. I love this spread together. I love all the textures and the colours and stuff. Yeah. So this says, oh, so again, this was another day where I think I just started drawing in the evening, and I didn't really think of an idea or anything. I was just like zoning out drawing, and I remember starting thinking I'm going to be loose, and that's why the glass is a bit like, I don't know if you can tell, like skewed a little bit. Like if I hadn't started off saying I'm going to be loose, I don't think I would have skewed the glass. Obviously it happens naturally, but I would have tried more to perfect that. And then because me being loose isn't something that comes naturally to me, it's something I'm trying to learn, I just like went straight into drawing like this, which is how I draw. This is how I normally draw naturally. And then I was just having a great time, so I didn't care. So these are all objects that I own, apart from the snail and apart from the cupcake and the fruits. Later I was just, I don't know why, I was like, oh, I want to draw a cupcake. So I don't know if I looked at a reference. This is from Imagination. Yeah, this is from Imagination. And then with the fruit, I don't know. I might have used a reference, but I think this is all from, I don't really like looking at references. That's the thing about me. Like, I can tell this guy's came out chonky. Like, if I used a reference, it would have come out less cartoony. But I really like all of this, so together it really works. And I remember I had a great time. I was in flow state. Right at the end, I added these shadows, and I was like, really didn't know what I was doing. I know how to add shadows, but because I hadn't thought about it, the shadows are like going in different direction, and I was like, why did you do that, kind of thing, to myself. But it is what it is. I had a great time, and I think it shows, and I enjoy this spread very much. Okay, I don't know what paint this is underneath. I think it's just I think all of this is watercolor paint, and yeah, don't know, just felt like painting, I guess, or feeling that I needed to feel the paint feeling, but not necessarily make anything specific. So I remember doing this quickly, and then I was like, oh, I know, I'll just get my Posca mark and do the middle bits. And I just then was like, oh no, because it actually came out too heavy straight away, and then that's why it's got this like crackled effect. And I remember thinking, Poscas love to play me, don't they? Like, why are you playing me? That's what I remember thinking, because I had to just leave it. I couldn't work in the sketchbook anymore. But yeah, it's fine. Okay, here's that paint I was talking about earlier. I received for my birthday, and it was July before I used it, so February to July last year. And I just wanted to use it as a background to then work on top of. And I did use a reference photo, and I was trying to really be loose, of people sunbathing in Green Park in London, England. And I remember then being really angry that it came out badly. Like, this is supposed to be two girls sunbathing, and this person is like face downward, or their face is that way, and the hair is like over their bag, and she's wearing sandals, and you know, the birds are eating crumbs, and birds are just hanging out, and then someone's lying with their shoes off, and someone's got their arm on them, and there's a lady just chilling by herself, and in the distance you can see some more people. And I remember thinking, oh god, like, these people look scary. And you can tell I don't do it often, but like, the more I do it, the more it will come out good. And also I do like it, so I think it does give the feeling of people relaxing in a field or in a park. Okay, so remember those flowers that I did earlier? These ones? I kept looking at them and loved them so much, so I did kind of my own flowers from my brain in a similar way, with the similar colour palette. Well, I used all the exact same materials actually, and I just did a little dopamine spread of my flowers in my favourite mediums and colours, which is nice. And then, oh yes, so this pink underneath here is also a new colour that I hadn't used at all, that I received for my birthday. So the underneath paints on both of these pages are gouache that I received. And then I think I was just layering stuff on top to see what it would look like on top of the paint, so that I could see what to do in the future, kind of thing. And this is trying to teach myself not to be precious as well. And then here I used my oil pastels that I forget that I even own. They're really nice oil pastels, and because they're so smushy and like smudgy, I just don't really like to use them, but I had fun using them on this day. Okay, so this is another kind of negative drawing, if that's what it's called. I came back from work one day teaching at a special needs school in the countryside, and came back home to London and just sat on my bed and did this, and I was feeling really happy, even though it's a stressful job and everything. Like, it also refuels me sometimes, and so this just popped into my head on the way home from work, commuting, and I just drew it straight away, and I liked it. So yeah, it's cute. It's just a night sky. And then here are just two of my favourite colours, and I'm just creating a blob because why not? Oh my god, I remember this. I was just really into these two colour combo, and actually these two out of my whole Posca set are just absolutely tiny now. If I can find it, I'll show you. But again, this is more of like, I needed to feel the pen in my hand, and like I just needed to feel the movement. And I create this checkerboard, and I could just zone out and have a good time and have all the dopamine. And actually, someone actually told me to paint my walls like this, which I have never forgotten. I really want to do it now. Okay, I had another idea of a negative drawing. Again, I'm not drawing it out first, it's just kind of like in my head. I think this is meant to be a sunflower, which is why I picked yellow. And this is meant to be a little bumblebee. And yeah, I really like it. It's very happy. Oh, yes. Okay, so I have a video on my channel. I think it's my very first YouTube video. And I actually go on an artist date. If you don't know what the artist dates are, there's lots of videos on my channel explaining it. So go ahead and watch that. It's all going to be in the same playlist as this video, just to help you out. So this is actually 2 materials that I bought on that artist date, and I remember having such an addiction to them. This blue is actually like a luminance pencil, a Caran d'Ache pencil, I think. And then this is just like a chunky yellow pencil, and I just bought it because it was like a big size. And I actually really enjoyed both, so I picked really well that day. And I was on my artist date in a cafe by myself, and I was just buying myself like something to eat, which I never allow. I never allow myself to go and buy art supplies myself. I always just get them on like my birthday or Christmas. So I did that. And I actually bought these on that day as well, that I'd been wanting for months and months and months. And I've been using them a lot, so they really did help. And I used these 2 pencils a lot. I think I spent £20 basically, and I was like, oh my god, that's so much. And sometimes it's necessary, you know, to teach ourselves that we're worth it. Don't always go and spend money on art supplies, obviously. But yeah, and I remember drawing this chair in the cafe on that artist date in that video, so you can go ahead and, I don't think I actually showed what I was drawing in the video, but so you can go back and see me drawing this exactly in that moment. And I remember being afraid because that cafe was quiet and it was small, and all the tables faced each other, and it wasn't very big inside. So like everyone could see me drawing. I had this fear of like, I don't want you to see me drawing. I just want to be in a corner by myself drawing. Do you know what I mean? So I'm trying to like break free from that kind of mental attitude. But here's me trying. We can all only try, and yeah, they look cute together. Oh yes. Okay, so in my previous sketchbook tour, when I had the disease, last year's disease, I did a whole double page spread on drawing inanimate objects, specifically beauty supplies from my childhood. And I really remembered I really enjoyed it and forgot because I put my sketchbook away and never looked at it again. And then I remembered suddenly, oh yeah, I do like doing this. And that other spread in that other sketchbook tour is actually all in pencil. So I decided to do it in paint, and I loved doing this. I actually was supposed to go back with white paint and add detail. I never did, but I don't really care. I remember how much I enjoyed doing this, and I still enjoy looking at it right now. And then this one was done on that same artist date that I was talking about just a moment ago. And I was stuck in traffic on a double-decker bus, and there were all these temporary lights. And I decided to try something new. So normally, like when I'm commuting, I just try and relax. And I do agree you should relax on your commutes. But I thought, why don't I just build a scene, kind of like as the transit is moving, I can just draw London around me and stuff. And so I drew the traffic jam basically. I drew all of it while I was on that bus, and I was sat at the top of a red double-decker bus to get this view. And most of this was because of the temporary traffic lights. I was able to get it all, but it did move, so I would just draw another car that I saw because that scene had moved on. I don't know if I actually saw someone with a wheelchair or if I just thought to add that. I can't remember. There were definitely construction workers, and there was definitely this cement machine, and there were definitely these cones. and there's definitely a 393 in front of me. And then when I got home, I had overworked it, or I told myself I overworked it because it wasn't all coloured in and stuff, because obviously the traffic moves fast. So I came home and I really coloured it in and stuff. And I remember having mixed feelings, and then I thought, this actually looks like a illustration from a children's book. It just gives me very like children's book illustration vibes, which I do like, and it was a fun exercise to try. Oh yes, I remember this. Okay, then I was trying to do something new. I was trying to draw Mother Nature. So I've never, again, like I said, I don't really draw people. I like to draw flowers and botanicals and like inanimate objects, but I don't really draw people. So this is all from my brain, obviously, so there's no reference. I just decided to draw Mother Nature, and this is what I thought she would look like. So here's Mother Nature being happy and like basking in the sun and her flowers. And I remember I liked adding the pink to the green and the white to the blue, and I actually turned this idea and this into a big painting. So you can go ahead and watch that. Again, it's linked in the same playlist as this video. I think it says full painting process, watch me paint a canvas in a day or something like that. And yeah, so this inspired a painting, even though I didn't include the person. Then I did it again because I could see the same thing with these colours. Oh, so in the painting video I'm talking about, where I paint the canvas, I actually use this as the reference. So these colours really, you know, just were thriving in my eye. I didn't really like the figure, so I painted over her, and I was supposed to go back and rework it, but I haven't. Oh yes. Okay, so this is me exploring anatomy. Yay! I realised I love drawing anatomy, and I just decided to just look up different medical illustrations of, so that's like the hand, obviously, the jaw and the lungs, and an eyeball, another fetus, and the brain, and a kidney. And then I just did like the lettering to fill the rest of the space. Yeah, I remember thinking that was a lot of fun. I also remember thinking, fighting the urge to colour it in. I was like, no, you had intended to leave it as line work, so you should leave it as that. And I'm glad I left it, but yeah, I remember fighting this huge urge to colour it in. Okay, now I filmed this artist date and then I never actually released it. I have the footage, so I need to make that into a video, but I basically went to a cafe that you can see Tottenham Court Road Station from, and I would sit there and draw from reference, and I think I began it one day and hadn't finished it, and then so I went back. I think I did this side one day, and I was like, oh, I need to go back and do it. Oh my god, I was filled with so much anxiety. And because that cafe is very full of tourists and lots of people do look at what you're doing. And I don't know, oh, I remember I actually had pre-painted this page, because a lot of artists on here, they say, oh, it's really useful to pre-paint a page, and for some reason it was really holding me back and making me feel like I really don't want to do it. Just the fact that there was already paint on the page, I don't know why. And yeah, and then I drew the bus, and I just remember like being scared this whole time and hating the process and stuff. and then I hated the result. Now that I look at it, I don't feel that emotional about it. I don't actually care. I think it's fine, and I think it's in the same vein as this one. You know, this one has a bit more life, and I think that's probably just because I didn't underpaint it in this grayscale. And this, lots of people say this looks like London because London's gloomy and it's raining and blah blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, but also I don't know, I just wasn't vibing. Now I don't feel that bad about it. I'm just like, it's fine. I was just scared going outside doing art and people seeing me do art. That was scary for me, and so I feel like that fear is like in here. But hey, I'm learning, and it's actually not that bad, so it's fine. It's charming, it's cute, it's quirky. Oh god, okay, so in September apparently I was sick, and I was just so annoyed of being sick that I did this, and I wrote, I'm still sick. And I remember thinking like, oh, I'm so sick, I can't do good work. Again, see, I had worked up pressure in my sketchbook, so I guess I didn't use the time being sick to make work, which is a shame. So I just allowed myself to paint this. I think I did this with marker, and then I painted this, but I did this with marker, and then I wrote this in pencil, and then I just painted around it. Here I am being free. Oh, look, now let the mind be free. So I was trying to be like, oh, make art that isn't good, make art that isn't good. So I start doing these kind of free drawings, and then it starts to get controlled, you see? But I still like it. It says slime of the mind, and I've been learning Spanish on Duolingo, so it says un taxi, por favor. Hello, goodbye, the all-seeing eye, a New York taxi. So yeah, interesting. I like it. Doodles. I remember thinking this is a concept. Do you know what I mean? Oh yes. Okay, I hated myself for doing this to myself. I really hope you can see the top of my sketchbook. Okay, I can't see what I'm filming, you see, it's a bit stressful. Okay, so I sat on my balcony, and my balcony, oh, this is good, what was I on about? Okay, this is good. I remember sitting on my balcony, and I started this, and I was like, it's that same thing again, like, oh my god, people are going to see me doing art, and oh my god, my art is bad kind of feeling. But also I just had to commit basically, and I don't like that because I do have ADHD. So I think I just started with this building, and then this is a view from my balcony, and then I drew this older building that had the different types of brick, and these are the same pencils I bought on that art estate, so I made loads of art with those utensils, so it's really great that I felt inspired and stuff. Then I started drawing this church far in the background, and you can tell the season because there's still foliage on the trees, whereas it's the dead of winter now, and there isn't, apart from the evergreen trees, there isn't much foliage. But I remember thinking, oh look, I'm making like different lines, different markings to show the different types of trees, and I found that interesting because I hadn't done that before. But I do remember feeling annoyed, like, oh, you know, is this realistic or is it not? Because you've warped this a bit, and you know, you're drawing bricks here, but are you going to draw other bricks? And I remember thinking, oh, like the yellow isn't very visible, I shouldn't have picked the yellow pencil. But I like it, I think it's nice, I think it's fine, I think I was too judgmental. It's a nice drawing. Okay, oh my god, remember what I said about buying those two pencils on my art estate? Well, here I am using them. Again, these are just things from my mind that I'm drawing randomly and creating ultimately a double page spread. Blobbing. sometimes I just like to create blobs with my Tombow markers, and that is also art. Here's some flowers with a bit of painting, watercolour background. These are just pencil, and then I just filled in the background. I always feel the need to fill stuff in if it's just blank. Ooh, here I am drawing random fruit with no reference. I remember hating this, but I actually really enjoy that. That's cool, I like that. Then I have a little trinket dish. I don't know if I can reach it. I have this little trinket dish that is going to be hella dusty when I show you. And I'm actually wearing these. These are earrings. I'm actually wearing them, but I'll take them off to show you in the trinket dish. So here they are. Yeah, I had recently bought a little trinket dish in H&M Home. It was like £1 or £2-3, and I was like, oh yeah, I like drawing inanimate objects, so why don't I just do that? And I did this with gouache, and then I just like coloured it in, coloured the background and added the detail. I remember not liking it because I didn't do the grooves to show, like, do you know what I mean, to show perspective. So I remember hating it because of that, but it's nice, it's cute. Really like this. I like how loose the flower petals are with the brush strokes. I like the colour combination. Okay, in my last sketchbook tour, I have faces that I explored. So these are some more faces that I had saved pictures of that I don't think I had made drawings of, and I just decided to do like really loose faces. I don't really love the colours, but I like the shapes and the looseness of the faces. Oh yeah, and the reason why I don't love the colours is because I was forcing myself to use colours that I don't usually use, but that's okay. So I prefer this kind of colour palette, but I probably was, yeah, I prefer this kind of colour palette. I like that. So I feel like you can tell they're older individuals, and you know, they've got bright eyeshadows on and makeup on, and have different hairstyles and poses and facial expressions. I feel like there's a lot of character, like you can tell there's character to them and you can tell information about them, but they're not realistic in any way, and that's cool to me. And there we have it, guys. There we have it, guys. That's the end of my sketchbook tour. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.